Air feel different way up here. Way uptown, we wear our crowns fitted. Black, brown, and boundless, we know limit. No better than to count us out or cap us all. We 6 stories and growing higher, no ceiling. On God and on Gaia, young Obamas and Sotomayors, whole city on fire. When the world is burning, we building. Youth be a witness. Youth be a litness. Youth be a light. Be our whole flight forward if you listen. City sound different way up here. Can you hear it? Way uptown. Know when we coming and know when we around. Block on loud. Bred between Malcolm X and Powell. How we move is a movement. It's only up from here when we let the youth be the solution. It takes a village to do this. Block by block, brick by brick. We reclaim our shine. Can't box me in when the ring is mine. Look like this our time. Make way, Harlem on the rise.
Brosis is rising.
For more than 25 years, the Brotherhood Sister Soul
has been at the forefront for social justice,
educating,
organizing, training to challenge inequity,
and champion opportunity for all.
Our communities are rising.
with the focus on Black and Latinx youth.
Brosis is where us young people
claim the power of our history,
identity,
and community
to build the future we want to see.
our voices
are rising.
Founded here in Harlem,
Brosis is unconditional love,
around-the-clock support,
and wraparound programming
Make space for us young people
to examine our roots,
define our story,
and awaken our agency.
our programs
are rising.
through the 4 to 6 year Rites of Passage program.
we develop a critical understanding of history,
culture,
politics, and society.
And with the enrichment programs that span the arts,
Environment and international study,
to college, career, and wellness,
Brosis provides far-reaching opportunities
for young people to transform our lives and our communities.
Welcome to Brosis Rising. My name is Kari Lazar-White.
And I'm Jason Warwin.
This celebration is about Brosis Rising as an organization, providing support, guidance, love, and education to young people and helping them to rise to meet the moment. It's about an organization responding to inequality and inequity and rising to bring forth a vision of justice. And it's about celebrating a building that's rising from the ground that will be a beacon, a home, a temple for young people, a place for them to organize, to educate, to be loved and supported.
For 25 years, the Brotherhood Sister Soul has stood at the forefront of social justice education, providing holistic youth development, grassroots organizing, and training and educating youth educators and organizers across the nation.
We could not do this work without the brave, brilliant staff of the Brotherhood Sister Soul, without young people who commit themselves to living a life of justice and righteousness, and without all of you, our supporters who have stood with us in this difficult time to help move forward our vision and our work and our efforts.
Thank you for joining us and for celebrating 25 years with us.
Through comprehensive education programs and support, Brosis helps young people develop a critical understanding of their history, identity, and role in society so they can create the future they want to see. 95% of BROSIS members graduate from high school compared to 48% of young people in Harlem. Last year, 94% of the high school seniors attended college, including 67 graduates accepted to over 125 colleges and universities. So congratulations to our young people. I'm Questlove, proud of you guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank y'all for being here. As y'all know, I'm Ashley, and I'm an alumni of the Brotherhood Sister Soul. And today we're going to be talking about our experience together. So how did it feel to be in the space and with the staff?
When I started, they told us like, we're here to support with anything, and it really shows that what they're doing is like from the heart.
It was very welcoming, very warm. I also met a lot of kids who are in the program with the same interest as me, which is really cool.
They ask for your pronouns and they ask for how you identify yourself as. And even if you don't want to say it in the beginning, you'll eventually come and you'll see like they want to be there so you can feel comfortable.
Usually in schools, we're not being taught these things that we're taught in BROSIS, where our identities, what's going on in our communities, etc. So what are some things that you learned through BROSIS that you didn't learn in school?
You learn things from school, but they really deepen your understanding, like politics and like social justice. If somebody was arrested, why were they arrested? What is the deeper meaning? Is it because they're Black, or is it because they look a certain way or they act a certain way? I just have a deeper understanding of like the world.
You want to douse the spark before it starts the wildfire, but sometimes you need to start the wildfire for it to be seen. Where it's like with like the BLM protest, because of George Floyd, he was the spark. He started the wildfire.
When I was like 14, when I didn't even know about the Brotherhood Sister Soul, I didn't pay attention about these social injustice. But now, like, I do, like, I'm into it, like, I want to be an activist, like, I want to fight for the people,
You
fight
are.
for the community.
You actually organize these protests, you actually organize these campaigns. One of the campaigns was to have social workers in the school, to have guidance counselors in the school.
It was a new, like, experience, a new opportunity for me to teach people my age, so, like, it feels good, it feels powerful.
In Brotherhood and in Sister Soul, we have mission statements, right? And a mission statement is when y'all get together and y'all get to define what it means to be a woman or man and a leader. So how did it feel to like sit down and actually intentionally think about that?
In most traditional like Hispanic homes, where it's like men don't cry, men do this, men do that, versus when I went to Brotherhood, it was a totally different thing that I wasn't used to, where it's like, it's okay to feel emotional sometimes. You don't have to be the breadwinner of the home. You don't have to be a big businessman or look masculine. You can be yourself however you feel comfortable.
Throughout history, it's like women clean or women wear dresses. It's just the whole thing. Exactly. And slowly I understand like these are things that happen like behind like the scenes of like history. And BROSIS has just taught me this.
How has BROSIS helped you build your moral and ethical code?
With my morals, it's like I have a new list of things that I, find okay, and like I accept everybody, and I don't discriminate because I have a whole bunch of friends and like they're all different in their own way, which is really cool. And like when it comes to that, your ethics and morals are really what define you as a person, and you should always be open-minded to anything. And Brotherhood really helped define that and show that to us as young men growing up in New York City.
Because of BROSIS, I learned that I needed to help my community, right? I felt like back then it was just like I should just leave this community and do better somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I was taught that I could do the work. Like there's people actually doing the work for us, with us, that are us, right?
Even though you start off like quiet, like, okay, yeah, hi, I'm good. Then you get like, then you just open up like a flower, you just bloom.
They like to help us a lot physically, mentally, and spiritually, which is a really good thing about the program. It's brotherhood, sister soul, where it's like they don't discriminate. They accept everyone no matter what you look like or who you are. They help you with whatever, and they've also helped many people throughout the years, and that's one of the main reasons their organization is so well known by like most of Harlem, because they help so many people.
I've definitely gotten more confident in like speaking my mind, speaking what I want to say, no matter what others like think of it. Like my opinion matters. It does.
They taught me about my culture, and I have confidence in when I speak about other things. And I feel like just being around people who were like more extroverted and knew what they were talking about and were able to speak for themselves, I just felt like, wow, I kind of want to be like that.
Hearing that from y'all is like, wow, y'all are the product of your environment, which is the brotherhood, sister soul.
This is legacy, built 25 years strong. Mentors who gave love, held space for us to bond. This the torch we pass, future gens coming along. This our lineage, our memory, a griot song. Where black and brown youth travel across the diaspora and study their roots, Latin America to Africa. Bring that knowledge of self and the world back to us. Shine your light and our block will see. Build an ancestor aperture. Youth organizers lead the way, hear them say. Counselors, not cops, who keep us safe. Therapists support mental health for hurting days. Dignity in schools and no arrests, so help us graduate. So we organize to start smart. Shout to DPA. More action and legalize and regulate. No more famine jails, abolish and reparate. Close Rikers and no prisons in all states. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. This is us planting seeds, future urban farmers. Side view of the building. Go ahead and peep the garden. This community and love, fam. Respect the Harlem. This a home from home. Mind, body, spirit dwell where you know you ain't alone, though it feel downhill. Navigating life's fires, hot waters, and 9 hells. Know it's love and support at Bro Sis 512. Peace.
On behalf of Brotherhood Sister Soul, I have the pleasure of welcoming Rosario Dawson. She is an artist and activist. She also received the Frida Kahlo Award for Innovative Creativity from the Brotherhood Sister Soul in 2011, and has been a longtime supporter and advocate for our work. She co-founded Voto Latino and has worked tirelessly on issues of the enfranchisement and voting rights, supporting dreamers, women's rights, and issues of immigration. So she joins us tonight for Bro Sis Rising, our celebration, and I welcome my friend Rosario. Hey Rosario, how are you tonight?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate so much you having this conversation with me, and this time where we're celebrating 25 years of Brotherhood Sister Soul and Bro Sis Rising. It just means a tremendous amount to have you with us and your presence. And, you know, in 2011, we were so honored to honor you with our Frida Kahlo Award for Innovative Creativity. And I'm wondering how you reflect on the intersection of art and activism, and how you stay true to being an artist, and so clearly and unapologetically and fiercely an activist as well.
Well, I have to say also it really meant a lot to me with Frida, you know, that especially that you have that named the Frida Kahlo Award, and that we continue to honor her and keep her alive and present with us, you know. And one of the things that I really loved about her art as well is just how unflinchingly she just made her own life experience very present for people, her healthcare issues, her love for the environment and nature. And I think those are the types of things that have been guiding lights for me and my work. We take things like politics and healthcare and women's rights to the forefront of anything and everything that we do. It's not a side gig, it's not a side kind of event. It's embedded in the entirety of the fabric of the work that I do and that we do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've responded so much to you and been so impressed by you over these years, because that's been how you've navigated the world, is understanding that all of these pieces come together.
I do think some of it comes actually from, you know, like a shared experience and upbringing that we both had. I think some of this issue around intersectionality was just the New York we grew up in, and the way we grew up in these environments where so many issues we saw as our own, that we saw as things we were interconnected to. It wasn't like we had to take a step to think about intersectionality. We were actually raised in an intersectional, interconnected way. And I think it it really was like the impetus for a lot of the work I do. I know the worldview that we both bring to this.
And I think that we're seeing that in a very real way right now, as it's beautiful to step outside and cheer and clap at 7 p.m. for our essential workers. But unless we are making sure that folks are getting paid properly, that they're getting the health care that they need, that they're getting the access to education and housing and all of the stuff that they need, we're going to see the same exact thing in the years to come, where there's going to be a huge gaps in communities of people who are no longer with us, who should be, who could have been, because there wasn't enough nurture and care put into how our systems. And we're being robbed of that. I mean, we've lost hundreds of thousands of people, and most of them of color, most of them women, most of them people who didn't have access to resources that they could have really needed, essential workers. And those gaps are going to be very much felt in their families and in their communities in a way that's going to cause generational harm.
Absolutely.
And so again, I bring this back to you, Kari, because, what you're doing and the space that you're creating and the foothold that it's going to have in that community, the presence that it has, it's going to make a huge difference to fill in a lot of those gaps that maybe teachers and parents who are having to work or whatever it is is missing for people. And I just thank you, because it's and sometimes it can feel like a drop in the bucket, but thank God for that drop, because we need it.
So, Rosario, when we think about some of the most essential issues we're facing today as a nation, as a community, when I think about what Brotherhood Sister Soul is facing with our young people, what the Lower East Side Girls Club are facing with their young people, the issue of immigration, of how we treat and respond to so many folks in this country who are undocumented and deserve a path towards citizenship. When we talk about dreamers, you've been a leading voice on this issue, and we've just come through a unbelievably combative political season where so many folks who are immigrants were demonized by the previous administration. I'm wondering what your thought, how you're feeling now. What's the way forward? Are you confident? Do you see the light?
I have hope, for sure. I've just seen too much organizing on the ground. Young people, especially undocumented and unafraid, who are willing to put themselves out there and create community around these issues and visibility to each other, because it's felt like an other issue and an invisible issue, I think, for a lot of folks. Seeing children being separated from their parents at the border, I think, was very galvanizing for a lot of people to step up and lead with humanity. I've watched so many different people kind of come forward, and we are going to pass this Dreamers Act, the Promise Act. We are going to make this stuff happen. It might not be yesterday or today, and maybe not tomorrow, but it's coming. Its time is definitely coming, because it needs to, and it's time for it to. And I think that one of the powerful things we've seen from Black Lives Matter just this past year, and where it started in these past years, is what organizing and community building can do to really kind of push meaningful agendas forward and help educate people as to why they even have certain biases and prejudices that have stopped them from being able to be more active in these spaces. And that's really, that's what blew my mind this past year, is how much education was embedded to the organizing.
This has been an incredibly difficult time for the world, for the country, for our communities. And I know that one issue you've worked so centrally on is the issue of voting, of enfranchisement, of both pushing people to vote who have the right to vote, and then expanding the right to vote. And I'm wondering, when you think about what has been revealed over the last year, and you think about this arc of your career, of your activist career on this issue of voting, how you see the two interconnected, and how you see the power of voting and the political engagement speaking to the time we're in and the work that needs to be done.
Wow. I have to say, it was so interesting. With Voto Latino, we've registered over 1 million people in these past 15 years, and 600,000 of them was last year. meeting that particular moment. But so much of it too is having the populace recognize how critically important that vote is. Voting isn't the end all be all of what we need to do, but it is a central piece, an organizing piece and tool to really get the work that we want to see done. And voting really matters. It makes a difference who your leadership is. And I just want to say thank you so much again for this wonderful conversation, because I always love talking to you, but also for just the incredible work that you've continued to do and to be that light in the darkness for so many people.
You know, you thank me, but I thank you. You know, this is a celebration of Bro Sis Rising, and so to have you join us as a former honoree, as an artist and an activist, as somebody who's done so much, you know, beautiful work in both of those two spaces, it's just appropriate to have you join us for this celebration. It means a lot to have you with us, and I thank you, Rosario.
I'm Carrie Mae Weems, and I'm really honored to be here to celebrate with the Brotherhood Sister Soul on this momentous occasion as it prepares to open one of the great new buildings in Harlem. There is something important that I want to share. 1 out of 4 children in New York are food insecure. The COVID pandemic has only deepened this crisis. The pre-existing condition is poverty. It's a plague of inequity. And it's one of the reasons that I decided to partner with Brotherhood Sister Soul as its first artist in resident to create an artist-driven public awareness campaign using both Spanish and English on our billboards to highlight this inequity. Now, before COVID, Brotherhood Sister Soul provided over 12,000 meals to their members each year. Since COVID, they've distributed over 550,000 meals to members in the greater community. That's over 500,000 meals. 500,000 meals by one single organization. And so I really want to thank Brotherhood Sister Soul for all it does, for the way that it has held the community, by the way it holds the community, by the way it uplifts the community, by the way it supports the community. And I believe that if we all do the right thing, if we take this vaccine, then we are sure to see one another on the other side of midnight.
"25 years ago, Kari and Jason rose to the occasion of injustice and co-founded this organization. And now, due to COVID, a lot of the issues that we face here in this country became the forefront. And now is the best time for the world to see how much Bro Sis is dedicated to the movement.
Our young people have entered into this space with different needs, anywhere from financial needs to mental health, educational disparities, and our goal has always been to level out the playing field as much as possible, provide them the resources, support, and love that they need to be successful. When COVID hit, our biggest concern was our members who already, in many places, can be behind, now being thrown into this unpredictable circumstance.
The Brotherhood Sister Soul saw a really huge need in our community, and so we all came together to really figure out a way to really navigate the food insecurity that was happening in our community.
So we turned our services around and provided a huge food distribution to ensure that our members were not going hungry.
The Brotherhood Sister Soul purchases food from a local warehouse to just provide all the other items that is needed to ensure that we can service food for a family of 4 for about a week. And this is one less thing that's on their mind outside of paying bills, while some of our families are struggling with loss of job, loss of income.
We went from serving 200 community members to almost 500 community members. Like the numbers, every week it seems to be increasing.
This whole year has been a nightmare, but thank God we had Bro Sis to help us on the way. They were like a second family.
Bro Sis have helped out throughout the years with my son Johan. I'm a single dad. Look what they're doing with the community. It's been very helpful, pantry for everybody, and they are a staple in this neighborhood.
We've also been able to provide culture-specific foods, such as like maseca and tortillas, which has given people a sense that we really care about them. And yeah, they were just so excited to have those items as it's very close to home.
I participate in the food distribution every week because I believe it's my duty to serve my community alongside BroSis, and it's super fulfilling seeing the joyous smiles that people emit.
We really wanted to make sure that we sustained the programming that we were offering our young people. Our young people really need this time to engage with their other peers.
Some of our members' schools shut down, they were supposed to learn remotely, lacked internet, lacked laptops. We made sure that they had that.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our first youth town hall virtual conversation with young people.
Many of our households, families lost income, lost employment. We made sure that we could provide some financial assistance so that they wouldn't lose their homes, so that their lights would stay on, so they could continue to have the basic needs to be able to move forward in life.
What are the kinds of conversations and activities that we can do to encourage our young people to hear their voice?
I've been in charge of our teen lounge so they can do work, and it's just been so nice seeing them every day, and I just love that they feel good enough to be in this space and that they have that safe environment to go to every day.
We've been fortunate to create a culture of family. We create a situation where staff feel comfortable and enjoy where they work.
Really finding good people for my son to be around and not having to worry about him as a single mother. Now he's 16, so then people feel like that's the age when, you can let them go, but that's the age when they need someone.
A lot of things that I value now and I hold dearly, I learned from this organization, and I believe that the new building, Rising, is a perfect example of that growth, and with growth comes electromagnetism and higher fields of vibration, and I believe that more people will be touched by that.
Hello everybody, I'm Bobby Cannavale.
And I'm Rose Byrne.
And we are so proud to be here tonight, taking time out of our side hustle as mimes to be a part of this community celebration. BroSis Rising. Happy 25th anniversary, BroSis.
Indeed. We were first introduced to the Brotherhood Sister Soul at their inspiring event in 2017 and have kept up with their fantastic work and continue to support them as a family as they make such an immense impact.
Now, we're very lucky to be in a place to give, and if you're in a place to give, we hope that you'll give big tonight. Thank you for supporting the Brotherhood Sister Soul. Happy 25th anniversary.
I'm very proud this evening to present the Ella Baker and Cesar Chavez Award to Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock. Senator Warnock is the pastor of the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church called America's Freedom Church, where Martin Luther King once pastored alongside his own father. And he was recently elected as the first African American to represent Georgia in the Senate in a groundbreaking election. Political activism and ministry are intertwined in the Black church, as we know so well, and that has been the case throughout Warnock's career. Over the years, he's advocated for expanding Medicaid, protecting the voting rights of marginalized Americans, opposing the death penalty, supporting abortion rights, and advocating for same-sex marriage. And so tonight we honor him for his work, for his fight for justice, for his work for equity with the Ella Baker and Cesar Chavez Award for Positive Community Development. Congratulations, Senator.
Thank you so very much. I'm deeply honored and glad to be here with you.
We've named this award for Ella Baker and Cesar Chavez because not just they've worked for justice, but also that they've also sought to ensure that both youth and the unheard are central to their vision of justice work. And so I wonder, as you reflect on your career, as you reflect on your work in the faith and political space, what do you see as the role of community organizing, of youth organizing in a movement for social change?
I began my ministry and my work as an activist as a young person. And we need young people. They are absolutely essential to the work of activism, the work of justice making in the world. When you look at a lot of our movements, There's no replacement for the energy of the young. Not only do they bring their energy, they bring a kind of idealism, a kind of creative discontent with things as they are, a restlessness of the soul that says it can be better than this. And we are in a moment yet again in our country when we certainly can use that. The first time I got arrested in an act of civil disobedience, I was a young graduate student in seminary working on a PhD at Union Theological Seminary in New York. And there was an African immigrant by the name of Amadou Diallo, who was shot dozens of times by a unit within the New York Police Department while reaching for his own wallet on his own front step. And they shot dozens of times, hit him several times. And throngs of New Yorkers rose up in that moment, responding to that injustice. It was the first time I got arrested in an act of civil disobedience. That was in 1998, I guess, 1999.
Absolutely. And I would, point out in 1998, we were probably marching together. That was the 4th year of the Brotherhood Sister Soul. And we were out there protesting the killing of Amadou Diallo. To your point, we were out there protesting the killing of Sean Bell.
Yes.
We were out there protesting the torture and assault on Abner Louima. I always remember when finally, Amadou Diallo's mother arrived in the United States and went to the location where her son had been shot down with all those police bullets. And she just wailed his name over and over again. It's a moment and a sound that has stayed with me all these years of a mother's cry coming across the Atlantic Ocean and, what she witnessed that day. And to your point, the fact that you have Eric Gardner killed by the New York City police and his last words are, "I can't breathe."
Right.
And George Floyd's last words are, "I can't breathe," both of them calling for their mother. There is a horrific cyclical nature to all of this that is, sobering. We know these realities of what the changes have been, but we also know how much has not changed. And when we consider the expansive systemic racism that continues, inequality with regards to wealth and criminal justice and education and housing, so many other areas, I wonder where you see the movement for equity and equality right now. Are you hopeful?
Well, we have to keep working on these issues. And, let's be honest, Kari, when you do this work, it is exhausting. The struggles are long. Justice work is not for the faint of heart. You have a lot of losses. And every now and then you move 2 steps forward, and then there's a backlash that moves you 1 step back, and you have to have the courage and the wherewithal to live to fight another day. And so I'm inspired by the ways in which I'm seeing young people stand up in this moment. I'm going to do everything I can as a United States Senator to make sure that we protect voting rights. That's a fight that we're engaged in right now here in the state of Georgia. You mentioned my historic election. The truth is, there are those who were not happy at all by the ways in which Georgians stood up in historic numbers and produced a historic result. And now the politicians who don't like the outcome are trying, rather than changing their message and changing their agenda, they're busy trying to change the rules. And so I'm a sponsor right now of something called the For the People Act. It will expand access to voting, make sure that no matter what state you live in, you have access to mail-in voting, early voting. It will prohibit states from easily purging people from the rolls for the kinds of questionable reasons that Georgia uses to purge people from the rolls. It's about expanding the franchise. And so there are a lot of fights that we've got to engage in, but I happen to believe that voting rights are preservative of all other rights. And in this moment, by pushing through the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which will provide the kind of oversight and protection that we've had in the past that we lost in 2013. That's a big part of where the fight is for me.
Where does the movement go next? When you think about where we've come from, when you think about where we are, where do you see the movement going forward?
An issue that I've worked on for years. I started in a real sense there as a seminary student in New York, working on the whole issue of mass incarceration. We, do a lot of work, and many of us are focused on police brutality. But police brutality is the predictable and tragic consequence of America's carceral state, a kind of massive prison industrial complex that has made the land of the free the incarceration capital of the world. We are about 4 or 5% of the world's population. We warehouse 25% of the world's prisoners. Mass incarceration, for me, is perhaps the clearest iteration and reinscribing of the Jim Crow segregation that Dr. King and others stood up against. We have now 2.5 million people in America's prisons.
That's right.
25% of the world's prisoners. And then when they get out, they're still incarcerated, because once you carry the mark of convicted felon, voting rights is legal.
That's right.
Housing discrimination, legal. Job discrimination, legal. If you build a carceral system as massive as ours is, police brutality is as predictable as it is tragic, because you have built the beast that demands to be fed, and this beast consumes Black and brown children. And if we say that we are descendants of the spiritual and moral legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., of Ella Baker, of Cesar Chavez, we have to indeed be engaged on this front and with this issue.
At the Brotherhood Sister Soul, our young people and our organization organizes on many of the issues you talk about. Our young people were front and center on the issue to reform and restrict the unconstitutional practice of stop and frisk in this city that criminalized so many Black and brown men with the over supervision of the police in our community. They were the ones on the front lines talking about what those experiences were like, creating art and poetry, named litigants in the Floyd case, testifying, going on news channels and talking about their experience. Our young people in our organization worked to shut Rikers Island, the stain that it is on the city of New York, named for a man who made his money off of the tracking of freed enslaved people and returning them to slavery in the South. You talk about the fact that there's a push on a national level to protect voting rights. We know Georgia passed a draconian law to further restrict access to voting. We know across this nation over 350 voter suppression laws have been proposed this year, targeting Black and Latinx and immigrant people. And so when we think about movements in this country for change, it's always been the intersection of organizing and activism, litigation work to support that, policy work, and so often faith-based work. And you intersect with all of those areas. And so when we think about voting as being absolutely central, but we also think about the forces that are arrayed against us, I wonder how you think of the path forward. How do we defeat those forces that are literally trying to stop people from their enfranchisement and for their ability to vote?
I run into young people all the time who say my vote doesn't count.
Right.
Well, my goodness, if your vote didn't count, people are certainly doing backflips and everything else, tying themselves in knots, trying to take something away from you that doesn't make a difference. Think about that. That doesn't make sense. They're trying to take your franchise away from you because they know that it is a valuable thing. And so I want to say to the young folk who are being nurtured by this amazing organization that has been doing such incredible work for so long, raise your voice, read widely, stay engaged, talk to the elders. We need the wisdom of the generations before us. They've learned some lessons that come only through experience. And so listen, but also speak. Speak with your vote, speak with your voice, organize, organize, organize. It does make a difference. Look what's going on here in Georgia. First of all, we've been organizing for about a decade here in this state. When you look at me, the first black senator from Georgia, that didn't happen by accident.
Right.
We've been organizing for years, fighting hard against voter suppression, registering people that other people said would never vote. And those folks stood up in a historic election. They sent the first black senator and the first Jewish senator from Georgia. And then, yes, you have these movements forward, and then there's an attempted backlash. And so that's what's happening right now, not only in Georgia, but in states all across the country. People have seen our power. They see the new emerging American electorate. It is multiracial. It is multi-faith. And it frightens some people. And so there's this kind of backlash. But we have to stand up in this moment and know that when we stand together, we win. You know, let me close in this way. I had the honor of serving as pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, spiritual home of Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis.
That's right.
And when I was preparing to preside over John Lewis's funeral just a few months ago, as I was writing the words with which I would open the service, I asked myself, I wonder what he was thinking when he was crossing that Edmund Pettus Bridge. I don't know, but here's what I do know. I know that he was not thinking, one day, if I stand up, somebody's going to give me a Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Right.
One day I'm going to be championed as a hero all around the country and across the world. That didn't cross his mind, and I'm sure he could not even have imagined that to be the case. He crossed that bridge because it was the right thing to do. And all he was trying to do that day probably was to stay alive. Hopefully he would stay alive, make it across that bridge alive. And he had made a decision, like so many others, that even if he lost that battle, and perhaps even lost his life, that we would win the war. That the long arc, the arc of the universe is long, as Dr. King used to say, but it bends toward justice. And that is the job of all of us to bend that arc a little closer to justice. And so stand up where you are. You never know the impact you're having, and we never know when the dam will break. But it's raining. It's raining truth. It's raining justice. It's raining humanity. Keep coming. Keep marching. Together we win.
BROSIS is a social justice organization. Together with their members, alumni, and partners, BROSIS builds on its legacy of community building and youth-led activism to realize a more just and equitable future for all. In 2020, BROSIS trained 70 youth organizers to advocate around 6 areas of justice: racial, gender, economic, environmental, criminal, and education. BROSIS is building youth power, a generation of organizers beating the drum for justice.
I came through freshman year, wet behind the ears with no peace of mind. They gave me room to talk, space to walk, over pizza pies. Learned about history, manhood, and how to see through lies. And then I gained the key to the world using these beats and rhymes. Delivered propositions in prose to the opposition, directed nouns, vowels, and consonants on 3 continents, but it all started here, in the 4 walls of the brownstone, led by black and brown angels as consistent as dial tones. I spent my time with the elders soaking up wisdom, only to come back and help new youth cope with the system. It was a 3-floor walk-up, built on the dream of the yonder, where folks knew youth ain't lost just 'cause they wander. But the streets had a plan for us all, so don't ever wonder. But BROSIS had our backs naturally like lightning and thunder. If words is bond, then fam, may the bonds never sever. Positivity, community, those help us move through the weather. Knowledge and future, a suture that holds it together. A kingdom in the jungle. That old building gave hope to the members. That new building shine bright like Wakanda forever.
We outgrew our beloved brownstone, so it's time to get some new space.
Space for more kids, more training, and more organizing.
Our new home is rising, and this summer we get to welcome everyone into our new home.
This new 20,000 square foot state-of-the-art building will be a site for our youth and the community, a model for the field of youth development, for educating, organizing, and training. Our goal is to provide a space that supports BroSis's mission, creating a positive environment in which young people can be safe, grow, be affirmed, claim their identity and voice, and feel a sense of belonging. It is a green building that has been designed for the enrichment and enlightenment of children. This is a space to organize, to change policies that will more broadly and systemically help our young people and our community, a site to train the field so that others can improve their youth development outcomes and organize for justice.
There will be 7 floors to call our home, 7 whole floors.
There is going to be a cafeteria with great and healthy food every day.
We are going to have spaces for dance and yoga and meditation.
I'm so excited for the outdoor play space on the roof. We are going to have a basketball court from Kevin Durant.
I can't wait for the new greenhouse, filled with flowers and spaces to learn.
It will be a home that will house all that is BroSis, artwork filling the walls, a celebration of our culture, a space with thousands of bricks and terracotta stones from our beloved former brownstone embedded into the design of the interiors. Our young people deserve a beautiful and inspiring building, a beacon they call home.
BroSis innovates training models for educators and organizers that set national standards for social justice youth development. 3,000 educators from over 250 organizations trained on the model, leading to culturally relevant programming for thousands of young people countrywide. Ultimately, the programs help youth define individual and collective moral codes that support leadership, development, and strong communities.
Raise up a celebration like a victory, 'cause Brotherhood Sister Soul is making history. Taking back healing with no time for hating. Breaking glass ceilings, 'cause the sky is waiting. Making miracles happen up on 143. Because of y'all, we reimagine that our lives could be part of the solution. The beautiful revolution. MCs for the people, we live in our contribution. And our lives are the proof that the model is working. And every single minute of your work is worth it. The evidence is a sentiment we carry within us. Gratitude for the little things, humble beginnings. Your vision was the remedy. Now, we are your legacy, proud to be defending the crowd we are composing. Freedom songs people singing from the Bronx to Oakland. From Florida to the border where people are rising up. We're so humbled that they do it with the sound of us. But really, we just hoping y'all are proud of us. 'Cause we rock for liberation, not fame or compensation. And if we not home, we on the road to transformation. Weaving poetry into streets at demonstrations, where there's always someone saying, couldn't help but notice how much we love each other and keep freedom as our focus. Knowledge is power, and they ask us how we know this, that's when we nod and think of y'all, because the answer is BroSis. You are the shoulders we stand on. You're the heart we put our hand on and promise to follow the feeling and always keep building.
"25 years of Brotherhood Sister Soul means to me that we've been engaged in this work of helping young people to become politically educated, social change makers, to be young people who want to transform the world.
I'm completely just overjoyed and get emotional in thinking that BroSis has 25 years on this block and that work is just going to continue to be magnified and amplified because we need it for our young people.
If it wasn't for Sister Soul, I honestly wouldn't be where I am today. They're the reason I went through college. They gave me all the assistance I needed. And now to be here full circle and working for Sister Soul is honestly like such a humbling experience.
As a young person, Brotherhood Sister Soul meant quite a bit.
It was probably the most humbling thing that had ever happened to me, because I was pretty academically well-rounded, more so than many of my chapter members. And I remember having a session and Jason visited, and Jason kind of put it to me in this really nice way, like, "Oh, Rick, you're doing great, but how are you helping everybody else in your crew? How are you being a good brother?" And that then transitioned to my rest of my life, where I thought about anything that I had, well, how am I helping? How am I doing the lifting as I'm climbing? And that was an integral piece of who I became as an adult.
Being a member in Sister Soul and growing up to be the woman that I am today has a lot to do with you. So just having those early lessons really, early to help navigate as an individual first, and then, being women of color in the organization, working together.
When I was a young person, Bro Sis meant folks, some bodies that looked, walked, talked, and had lived like me, that were just ushering me through my adolescence. It gave me a point of navigation of how to go through the motions of high school, the 90s, gave me a sense of self-worth.
We think about the world that should be, and we organize, educate, and advocate to bring that world into existence, because we deserve that.
This just being a village of Black and brown people who look like me, who didn't have to wear a mask, of what it meant to be a young Black person living in Harlem.
The thing that makes me most proud are the alumni of the organization. When I think about the kind of men and women they've become, the way they interact with people in their lives, this is to me the best testimony to the importance and the success of our work.
My journey at Bro Sis, being a college intern, to being a part of the team, to being a part of the leadership team.
My mentors are still here, and I can still seek their guidance, and my alumni are coming back to me, still seeking my guidance.
I see us expanding our services, expanding the young people that we reach. I see us just growing bigger and bigger. The vision is to see us grow and continue to grow and impact the young people. And also continue this legacy of having our alumni come back and be the ones who are providing the service.
It's the generations of young people who have chosen to live their life in a more righteous and conscious way, who've chosen to struggle with the deep conflicts of our time, and have chosen to commit themselves to creating change. Every day the work inspires me. Every day is what makes Bro Sis so unique.
I can only imagine what the next 25 years will bring.